Congratulations to Newcastle United. 2-0 on the night, 4-0 on aggregate. Well done to my cousin Joe as well. He'd be buzzing to be going back to Wembley. And it was a masterclass. It was an absolute masterclass, not just tonight, but over both legs from a Newcastle perspective and point of view. We're going to break tonight down. Of course, we want to take your views and your opinions because they matter much more. But get the like button smashed right now. Make sure you are subscribing. If you haven't done it yet, get the bell notifications turned up. And a shout out to our title sponsors tonight, the brilliant people at Stocks FC. I love the platform. And we're going to be talking about Isak on there tonight. I think he is, if you haven't got stocks in him yet, you're mad. And they're the lowest and cheapest they've been for a long, long time as well. So we're going to go into that in a little bit more detail a bit later. You can get your account signed up to now, though, if you want to, by scanning that QR code. You'll be given 5 free stocks for you to start playing with and learning the game. It's amazing. I love it. But more to come on them a little bit later. And as I say, I wanted to start off really by congratulating Newcastle. Newcastle deserve a lot of praise over both legs. Very strong defensively for large parts of the game. Their ability to manage the game tonight impressed me. They didn't allow themselves to become too emotional, even though the atmosphere created by the Toon Army was sensational. It really was. And we said in Straight Facts earlier on today that it would be a tumultuous, energy sapping for the rivals, of course, Arsenal atmosphere. The way Arsenal would have to handle that is scoring first, and they couldn't do it. But Newcastle, deadly on the counter. Isak with a man of the match performance. Murphy and Gordon looking sensational. And over the course of the 2 legs, Newcastle thoroughly 100% deserved it. There's no ifs, there's no buts, there's no maybes. So a big congratulations to Newcastle. Absolutely top class over the last couple of games. Now, a lot can be analysed in these 2 matches. A lot can be analysed. A lot can be broken down. But for me, the difference between the 2 sides is very, very simple. And that's the attacks. That's the difference. People can talk about shape. Yes, in-game management is key. You might want to talk about tactics. But for me, this was a shootout. Whose front line is going to be the most clinical? And over both legs, Newcastle's prevailed in a big way. It is as simple and it is as straightforward as that. Point blank. If you go back to the first game, Martinelli through on goal, hits the post. I think Saliba and Timber had headers. I did hear the commentator say during that second leg, every single corner that Arsenal have put in every time, in all 3 games this season, Newcastle have dealt with them impeccably. I didn't think that was strictly true. Both Saliba and Timber should have scored from headed goals in that first leg. You have the Kai Havertz header from 6 yards out. There may be a chance I'm even missing in those games. But when you look at those 4, none of them turned into goals. You look at Newcastle, limited chances in the first game, walk away, 2-0 winners. And then tonight, that continued. The atmosphere, as I've mentioned, was raucous. And you could see a few nerves around the Arsenal players. It got to them, which is exactly what the approach was from Newcastle. Newcastle scored a very early goal, but it was offside. The defensive line got it right. As much as some will say VAR saved Arsenal, I don't necessarily view it that way. It would have been an offside goal. So VAR just stopped a team getting an unfair advantage. Arsenal's line was actually perfect. And then Arsenal really started to dominate for about 12, 13 minutes. And Odegaard in that period was putting in a performance that was top class. He was dropping deep. He started controlling the game. And Arsenal broke outside their normal rhythm. Timber making runs on the outside and inside. Odegaard was everywhere. And they were taking Newcastle apart. They had some really good openings and opportunities. And then around the 18th minute, it was a wonderful piece of play. There was a foul on Martinelli at the edge of the box. And that's how you could see the movement. Martinelli, by this point, was central. It looked like a free kick. But the ball runs through to Odegaard. And he has to score. And I wanted to mention Odegaard's performance before because it was very good until that point. That opportunity, though, has to be a goal. He's got to bury it. The game state changes in that instant. Arsenal go one up. They're one goal behind. The crowd simmers down a little bit, or at the very least, it might be noisy bit with some more anxiety, which seeps into the Newcastle players. From an Arsenal perspective, insult to injury then occurs. Newcastle go straight down the other end. And listen, what Isak did tonight, predominantly to Saliba, but to the centre-backs of Arsenal, he big broed them, he bullied them. He demonstrated that he's not just good with the ball at his feet. He's not just got a good bit of tippy-tapper and a good dribbler with some pace. Great gamesmanship. Can be physical. He's not shy of an altercation. And by the way, it's what you need to be. We saw it in the last game between Gabriel and Haaland. We saw it tonight with Saliba and Isak came out on top. And he drops deep, gets into a fight that creates a space for him to run into behind. He's onside, a brilliant shot, and then Murphy follows up. And that was the difference. That 1 minute or so period of play was literally was the microcosm. Chasm? Maybe I got the word wrong. Of the entire 180 minutes. Both getting chances, but only Newcastle scoring. The first half then petered out, and Arsenal sort of were in this sort of weird space of, do we attack and leave space for counters, or do we just kind of sit in and try and keep it respectable? So the first half petered out, the second half starts, and Arsenal came out very, very nervous indeed. And I think what was in their heads is, we could lose 4, 5, 6. And they come out, they start slowly. I don't know why Raya is passing that ball to Rice in that moment. It was horrendous. You should be going long. 2-0, and that is it. I thought it was over at 3-0. Okay, let me rephrase that. I always felt Newcastle would go through after winning 2-0. I thought it was done, buried at 3-0. I mean, it was tombed, cemented on top by the end of when that fourth goal went in. And as I say, I'm not saying that Newcastle wouldn't have gone through if Arsenal had better attackers. But I think tonight we mentioned that little minute period between Odegaard's miss and Murphy's goal was a kind of snapshot of this entire tie. But the lack of goals from Arsenal tonight, the lack of clinical edge is why so many Gooners, rightfully so, were screaming for another attacker in that January window. And then more insult to injury, Martinelli also goes off injured as well, which is obviously poor for him indeed. So look, it's the end of this journey for Arsenal. It's another Wembley trip for Newcastle. And I tweeted this earlier. I hope they go on and win it now. First of all, my cousin, massive Newcastle fan. He's never seen a trophy lifted in his life. And for him, I would like that. He's a great guy. He's been a Newcastle fan since, I think, 1991. I'm not even too sure why he picked him. I can't actually remember the reasoning now. But it was well before they had that good run in the mid-90s. And we used to get so much stick when we were out playing football and he had a Newcastle kit on. Oh, you only like them because they're good now. But I remember it was 1991, and I just remember it being that early because I remember he supported them. And then I remember the Euro 92. I remember watching some games at family barbecues and he had a Newcastle kit on, if that made sense. So I was very young myself. It's hard to remember all of it. But yeah, so I hope they go on and win it now. And we'll see whether it's Tottenham. We see whether it's Liverpool. I've got a gut feeling they will. If they can play with that know-how, that knowledge they did throughout the course of these last 180 minutes, I think they'll go on and win it. I really, really do. Remember to hit the like button and make sure you are subscribing to the Terrace. As I mentioned earlier, we are powered and sponsored tonight by our friends at Stocks FC. Go and check them out right now. 3 new IPOs available, as you can see on the screen now. But there's a player that I want to actually focus on tonight. So if you go into the search bar here and you look at Isak as an example, Isak for me, he's just an investment on this that you've got to make. He's just an investment that you've got to make. And I think there's a lot of people on this game that may be waiting for him to move to a quote-unquote bigger football club. But this man tonight was absolutely brilliant. £2.22 his share prices are available for. His payouts, by the way, you look at the reward payouts of this man, over £10,000 of reward payouts on Isak. He's the man. He's the absolute man. And do you know what? The growth in him has been absolutely phenomenal. And a few years ago, I remember the eye test phoning into the terrace saying how brilliant he was. And if I'm being honest, I probably dismissed it slightly. Not because of who Isak was, anything to do with him. It was just the eye test was being very detrimental about other great strikers like Erling Haaland at the time. And I think sometimes for me, I've got a bit of a problem. I switch off listening to people when they do the whole, say it's Eden Hazard, Mo Salah. If either party says the other one's shit, I stop listening. I think it's a little bit like that for me. But what a player he's turned out to be. You know, Dortmund are probably kicking at themselves now. Sociedad probably think we could have got an extra 20, 30, 40 million. And Newcastle fans will be hoping and praying that this young man stays with them next year. But if you do sign up to a Stocks FC account, if you start building up your players for the fantasy game that comes out each weekend, not only will you go into a prize draw to win a PlayStation 5, but one of you tonight will be picked at random. Okay, well, we'll do the draw in the morning. Just have to wait for the details to come through to win 2 tickets to watch a Premier League team of your choice. And yes, Todd Bowley, it will be. We're buying them at face value. I'm not paying 20 grand a pop. Face value only. So scan the QR code or click on the link below if you want to get involved with that. But as I mentioned, Stocks is a great game. It's essentially like fantasy football, but you own the player. You own the stocks in the player. So not everybody every week can pick him. You get them. It's great. It really, really is. And the better they do, the price goes up, and then maybe we want to sell it. It's like, imagine getting a rare card playing something online like FIFA, and then people want it. They're selling it for real money, not FIFA coins. It's brilliant. It really is a great deal of fun. It tests your football knowledge because a lot of people like to give it the big one. I got stocks in Isak. I got stocks in Isak. But do you really? Do you really? Put your money where your mouth is, big boy. Let's go to some of your super chats here. I want to know what some of you have been saying about tonight's game. Then my panel is coming out to have their say on the show. Let me just save that because I'm putting the timestamps in. I like to know where I'm at, so you guys can see your super chats and see your comments and all that lovely jazz. What are we on likewise? Come, let's get those likes up, people. We're only on 400. Let's get that flying right now. My wonderful, brilliant people. Let's get that flying. Let's go to some of these super chats here. First one says, "Speak for everyone. Humbling night. Stay humble." Is what Chelsea fan Dyke says here. Back to life, back to reality is what John Bones Jones. I imagine that was the real John Bones Jones. It's not, but can you imagine if it was? Deadliest man in the world. Well, we'll soon see when he fights Aspinall. I can't wait for that fight. Hit the like button. Big up yourself, Luke Skywalker. I appreciate that. Newcastle equal Wembley. Arsenal equal Humble. I do like this. I do. Do you know what I like about this the most? It's people that say they don't care about Arsenal and then they care about Arsenal. Congrats, Newcastle, from JB. That's an Arsenal fan. He says, "Congrats, Newcastle. Only Isak can make our centre backs shake bum. Must be what most rivals saw in Henry. Performance hurt a lot. Even if we didn't go through, should have fought to win the game. Players weren't up for it." I'll be honest with you, Jay. I think your players were up for it, but once that second goal went in, or maybe the first goal, it was all she wrote. And I think that you could tell by even your substitutions. As soon as it went to 4-0, Arteta did the right thing. You'll have some Arsenal fans that go, should have gone for it, should have tried to draw the game. What was the point? You weren't scoring 4 or 5 goals. It just wasn't happening. He was right to take players off and then rest them because you've got, I'm not saying you've got bigger fish to fry. I wouldn't dare do that. But you then have to manage the game in the situation that you were in. And if you'd have fought to, you come back and drew, but another player pulls a hamstring or there's a bad tackle or someone gets injured, it would have been for nothing. So I get your point. I do think Arsenal were up for it to start with. Odegaard scores that chance, because that for me was a turning point tonight. Odegaard scores, we could be sitting here having a very, very different... In fact, we could be sitting here not even live, watching penalties right now. But that miss and then the goal a few moments later changed it for me. I don't even care if we lose to Spurs. I'm happy. See, listen, Hamid, right? This is it, right? I don't care. You, man, can't be out here saying this. You don't care if you get knocked out. You're happy because Arsenal did. And then in the very next show, say, Terry, none of us care about Arsenal. I love you guys. IFL here says, same lineup versus City against the worst City in 20 years. You was gassing Arsenal fans. Arsenal needs a Champions League, but Arsenal needs a trophy, 800 million spent. So let's break down your super chat. Arteta does need a trophy. I agree, which is why I've said for the last 2 seasons, I'm judging him on trophies. So I don't quite get why you're calling me out on that one. I was gassing Arsenal fans. No, I was rightfully praising Arsenal for a brilliant result, the heaviest result this Manchester City team has faced in Premier League history. I think only the second time Pep as a manager has conceded 5 goals. And rightfully congratulated the performance. If we're absolutely honest, the majority of the conversation since then has been about goal celebrations, with the Premier League now looking to introduce a rule to take out mocking goal celebrations. And yes, it was the same lineup, and I think you should pick that team again. Started well. Newcastle scored on the counter, and that was all she wrote. All the high line from destroying City went poof. I've seen it over and over again. Whenever the pressure is up and the task is difficult, Arsenal crumble. You've seen it from 1 minute, but don't worry, it was the ball, and they've got bigger fish to fry. And that's why one thing I would say about this, I really agree with on this super chat. That's the difference between having Kai Havertz as a striker, who I'm not changing my mind on him. I think he's been a good signing, okay? But I want you to understand what I mean by good. Okay, you have to put context on these words. Only toaster people don't like context. Alexander Isak would be a phenomenal signing. You see the difference there, the distinction, the time? And Pete's doing that. I'm giving you an example, Pete. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm just giving you an example of a player. Signing an Isak would be a phenomenal signing. Kai Havertz is a good signing. You know, he's come up with a good amount of goals for the club. What he isn't is a type of player, and I think it's proven now, that in these types of games can grab it by the scruff of the neck. And to a degree, that's okay, but not if he's your lead number 9. And sometimes I think these conversations need a little bit of nuance. Having him as part of your attacking Arsenal, excuse the pun, is okay, but you need that Isak, that Gyökeres, that Haaland-esque, that Mo Salah-esque type player who, I mean, you've got one in Saka, but I think you need an additional one. Because that in the last 2 games is what Isak has done. It wasn't like Isak was being fed chance over these 2 matches. Didn't have very many opportunities, but he can grab the game by the scruff of the neck and he can make something happen. That's the fundamental difference. And that's why the January window was a big disappointment. Newcastle totally outplayed and outclassed us, is what Anders says here. Wax says, this is gross Terry, new low. What's that? You need to explain what you mean by that, my bro. Am I not criticizing Arsenal enough? Is that the problem? I've said they were outclassed and the strikers was bad. I'm criticizing the lack of clinical edge. What more do you want me to say? Please don't tell me you want me to do bottom feeder stuff. Come on now. Come on now. Strange people out there. There really is. There's a question that came through here that I wanted to read. Terry, serious question. Who are these Liverpool fans who say they don't care about Arsenal? Sean, the next time, just go to the comment sections of recent Arsenal videos and read it. One of your very own, Maradon, consistently every game. Consistently. Like, I'm not making these things up. We have all seen it. It's there. We've put them up on the screen. Super chats about it, Sean. You remember, you hear a lot. You've seen it. You've seen it. Now, remember, I don't say all Liverpool fans. I'm talking about the ones that do it. Definitely happens, my friend. Oh, come on, Terry. Arsenal are scary. Well, they are. That's why so many of you here are joyful that they're not going to win this trophy, because you're like, thank God they didn't win it. If you always knew they wouldn't and it was no sweat to you, your reaction wouldn't be like this. It's the way it works, my friend. It's the way it works. Well done to Newcastle. Fully deserved. That's from Irish Gooner. Absolutely. Nothing can be taken away from Newcastle. They performed well, defended excellently. And there were just loads of moments, and Newcastle fans all remember this and talk about it more than me. But there's just so many great, and there was one really early on in the game, a good bit of play by Arsenal on the right-hand side. Ball comes to Odegaard, shot is blocked. I would say they probably blocked. Someone go and get the stats from both games. I'm going to make a guess they blocked 15 to 20 shots over 2 legs. 15 to 20 shots, I think they blocked over 2 legs, Newcastle. and just they wanted it so much. They really, really did, and they did thoroughly deserve it. They did. Fairs, I care Arsenal as they are our closest challengers. Well, that's also because you're being honest. By the way, they care. They just pretend they don't. Of course they care. Give me tears, Terry. Yeah, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not an Arsenal fan. I don't know what you want me to say. Oh no, Arsenal lost. What am I gonna do? Oh, I can't wait for the stream to finish. I'm gonna get my Arsenal blanket out, get my Arsenal PJs on and cry. Is that what you want? If Liverpool don't qualify for the final, it will also be an interesting final to watch. What I'd like about Liverpool not qualifying is then someone kind of new wins it. Most years in the last 15, 16, it's been City, United, Chelsea or Liverpool. It's predominantly been those four teams, maybe one other team in that period. But it's pretty much been those sides. So it would be nice for someone completely different to win it. Spurs have won it twice in my lifetime. Newcastle have barely won a trophy in any of their living fans' lifetimes. So, yeah, it'd be lovely to see them win it. It really, really would. It really, really would. Perfect clip. Yeah, and you can clip it up and put it out there, but no one's going to believe it. No one's going to believe it. Terry, lift up your hoodie. I know it's an Arsenal shirt. No, it's not actually. Do you know what it is? You know that Liverpool fan that was giving me a stick a minute ago? I've got his mum's negligee on from earlier. I don't want to reveal it. I am sorry. Yeah, I had to put something on quickly before the game started. And I just put a little negligee on. It's a little bit itchy. She went for satin and not silk. Bit cheap, you see. But there we go. And by the way, well done to Mama Flossie, long-time member and follower of the Football Terrace. Congrats on getting through to the final. You massively deserved it. Spurs beat City 4-0 away. Arsenal win is irrelevant. See, that's just wrong, though. Again, this is where I don't mind people calling me out for defending Arsenal. City losing 4-0 to Spurs wasn't irrelevant. City losing 5-1 to Arsenal isn't irrelevant. It just isn't. Do you know what I mean? And do you know where people sort of undo their own argument? I remember you, Mr. Discovery, said it doesn't matter that Liverpool don't go on to win the Premier League when they beat us 7-0. It doesn't matter what happened in the context of that season. That result is substantial forever. Arsenal give City their biggest ever thumping under Pep Guardiola. Irrelevant. It means nothing. You see how people talk out of both sides of their mouths when it suits their purpose. There we go. Done, dusted, finitoed, finished. From Gooners to Goners. It's pretty good. That's a pretty good one. I like that. That's quite decent. Terry's got the worst banter on YouTube. That's why you're a paying member of the Football Terrace. Don Vito. I am your life. I am your daddy. If I say jump, you say how high. Paying member. Not just following. Paying member. The worst. It's the worst. I am your life, brother. Without me, you're bored. Imagine. Oh, I don't pay for it. Yeah, okay. Okay, mate. Nice one. Absolute nice one. There we go. Stay humble, Terry. Oh, listen, I am humble. I'm just giving it. This is what I love. You give it back to trolls, and everyone's like, oh, don't be mean to them. Come on now. They've got to learn to take it. But there we go. Right, time to bring out the panel now to have their say. Remember, people, get the like button hit. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you have your bell notifications turned on as well. Very, very important indeed that you do that. Just making sure everything's all sorted that end. Yes, it is. Right. Let's bring the people out now. Who we got on the show? We've got Toon Tactics is here. We have Strasbourg Steve. We have Brandon, Saad, Trimless, Ash, and Nathan all on the show. Big panel for you tonight. Gentlemen, welcome. Congratulations to, obviously, Toon Tactics.
It's all right. It's all good.
Yeah. Welcome to Steve. Congratulations to you two on making the final. And I'm going to start with you first, Toon.
Yeah.
Big win for you tonight. How proud are you of the boys?
Oh, phenomenally proud. I think if there's one thing I was asking was thinking about, especially for Eddie Howe this season, is for him to. I wanted to see what his ceiling is. Can he be the person that wins trophies and handle pressure? And he continues to show that time after time. And I saw your earlier show, Terry, with Mo and Hussam, and you guys were speaking of pressure. And I agreed with you 100% in terms of Newcastle being 2-0 up. If Arsenal scored that first goal, we're having a totally different conversation in this game. But the team, I know that there was moments that obviously Arsenal didn't take it on board, didn't take theirs, but we took our moments and we turned it around. We did our thing. But first of all, I just wanted to say again, credit to Arsenal. Always, I think that I always say that Arsenal are a team. They're not called title contenders for no reason, and I think they're genuine. I know the fans want to win the title, but it's a hard league. And I think styles make fights. I think Newcastle's style is just made for Arsenal. Well, Arsenal's style is more made for Newcastle. But you have an exceptional team on the ball. Sometimes the things that your players can do in close quarters, how you attack the game is really like good to see. But look, I'm just glad. I'm glad second final in 3 years. Eddie Howe's proven his credentials. Our team has proven their credentials as well. We did a 5-3-2. It's the first time, I think, I know Steve can correct me, but I think it's the first time we've kind of started off a game as 5-3-2, which shows our respect for Arsenal. We didn't even do that for Liverpool. We didn't do that for Man City. We didn't do that for any other team. So we took the game by the scruff of the neck. Another final, Isak, Gordon. Trippier is the one that really stood out for me. I was wondering where our nastiness came from, and it's Trippier. He was giving all of that to everybody. And that's the difference between him and, I guess, Livramento. Livramento will have to learn that part of his game. It's all good being skillful, athletic, and all these other things that footballers need to be, but you need that personality, you need that nastiness, and Trippier put that in, and you can see that ripple effect throughout the team as well. So yeah, look, respects to Arsenal, incredible team, but we've showed that we've got bottle again, and we're on to the final.
I think what you said about Trippier was so key, and I was listening out to what the commentators had to say, because the way he was sort of in people's faces, the Arsenal players' faces, shouting at them. I was waiting for Gary Neville to say how disappointed he was at the disrespect. Sarcastically, I'm talking, of course, because
yes.
you need that. You absolutely need it, and that was a key component for yourselves tonight. The crowd were up, the players were in Arsenal's faces, but you did it in a controlled way. There wasn't any stupid, reckless tackles, nothing that could get you sent off. And I think you got the balance of those two things perfect tonight.
100%. And then I'll just add to that is, I know that, again, this just take it from a Newcastle fan and just watching another team. I know Kai Havertz gets a lot of stick, but at least I can see a nastiness in him. He gives it as good as he takes it. I know people are shaking their head, but I was watching the game, and your other players don't do that. At least when he's having a fight, it's him that's having a fight. I didn't see Miles Lewis-Skelly, who's a talk of the town, doing that. I didn't see Odegaard doing that. Maybe Declan Rice. My respect to Declan Rice. I saw Saliba shaking. I saw Gabriel Magalhaes shaking. But those guys always get off scot-free. At least Kai Havertz, for all of his limitations and ability-wise, gives it back. And it's always our players that are always drawn to him. So I just think, look, I'm not trying to say like Kai Havertz, he's an incredible player, but I think to win this Premier League, and Terry will tell you that from his Man United teams, Man City fans will tell you that, you can have all the ability and technical ability stuff in the world, but you need that personality and you need that kind of side to your game. And I think you probably need more players, at least of a personality that Kai Havertz has as well. But no, again, incredible team, Arsenal. We've gone through, and I'm very, very, very happy about that.
Yeah, I hear you on that completely. Saad, you went out tonight. It felt to me watching like the difference. I have seen a clip of you going viral already, by the way, so well done. But I would say the difference between the two teams, if you're going to, there's a lot of football you can talk about, but I felt the difference between the two teams is one finishes its dinner, the other one misses its chances.
It's not even just one finishes its dinner. There's you just have to say one name. Alexander Isak. That is the difference between the winning team and the losing team. That's the big difference. If I have Alexander Isak in my team and I'm 2-0 down, 100% I'm winning that game. If I had Alexander Isak in my team right now, I could comfortably say I'm going to win the league. I could comfortably say I'm going to go for that FA Cup. I can comfortably say I'm going to go for the Champions League and maybe get to a final. Maybe go and win the whole Champions League. Because Isak is just that type of player that you put him in your team. It doesn't matter if even the team kind of has a bad day. Isak will still pull out a mad performance. Isak will take the ball and do it himself. Isak will create a problem for defenders. Do you see how our defenders? These guys are composed majority of the time. I've never seen Saliba and Gabriel that shook. Never in my life have I seen them that shook. I've seen it twice, actually. Twice. Both times when they come up against Alexander Isak. Because this is what happens to the guy. This is what the guy brings out. This is what the guy brings out in centre-backs. He gets them fearful because they know this guy's a serious baller. This guy's he's an elite finisher. So if he gets on the ball and he takes a shot, majority of the time it's going on target and it's going to go in the goal. If you give him enough space, he's going to get in the back of the net. But listen, I didn't have any belief. I got criticised truly when last time I was here, once saying that the title's done, that the tie is done. I know you and Toon Tactics disagreed with me and said, "Oh, you shouldn't think like that. You should always want your team to win and all that." It wasn't more about not wanting my team to win. It was just about I understand what happens to this team in moments of high pressure, and especially to that front line in moments of high pressure and high pressure moments like this, where you go to a place, it's very ugly. We went to St. James's Park. It was very ugly in there. Every time we had the ball, they were booing, they were chanting, they were going crazy on our players, doing madness. But you have to expect this as a player. But can our players handle it? I don't think they handled it very well, and that clearly shows. We still have to bring in some more attackers. We needed attackers today. Martinelli's gone down. God forbid. I hope it's not a bad injury. I really hope it's not. I know Martinelli's not the best player, but still, he's another body in that attack. So I just listen. We were pitiful today. It's actually embarrassing. It was a very embarrassing performance, and yeah, I had no belief that we were going to get through in the tie, but I would have wanted to see us at least maybe score a goal, at least go out there and try and get the win. We gave up in the second half, and do you know what I mean? Arteta just did. In my personal opinion, I do kind of agree with you. Maybe it was the right thing to just take these men off, because there's no point of going for that game. There's no point of continuing that game. We will never beat these guys. They were on us from minute 1 to minute 90. They knew exactly the game to play. They knew how to rile us. They know which players to do. They knew which players to put a tackle into and rile them up. And it worked. So, congratulations to Newcastle. Arsenal just mad. Mad.
No, I hear it. And listening to you talk, I'm making an assumption here. You were one of those people that felt it was done at the end of the last game. So I suppose the feeling now is a little bit more. Well, I knew this was kind of.
I let all of my anger out in that street.
And I get that, and I get that, and I agree with your point about Isak, a massive difference maker, and again Odegaard. It's that missing that chance, cuts across it, doesn't score. I think Gary Neville was right in the commentary up into that shot. He dropped deep. He started dictating the play. He is excellent at that. The lack of output from Odegaard is his biggest sort of problem. And that's where I look at the Arsenal board and the recruitment team, because you know he's never going to have a great amount of output. You look about that, Brandon. Hang on, that's where I look at it, because his approach plays very good. So what you need to add for someone like Odegaard is more players in and around him that are bagsmen that score and create. Because the way he got hold of that ball and was dictating play and cutting through Newcastle is great. What he doesn't do, whether it's Newcastle away under pressure or even any other time, he's not a massive goal scorer. So the way you create your system and work the ball into the box, you don't really want him to be the person that's coming onto those shots. And I just think that you've got to look at that from a recruitment side. KDB can play his role in his pomp, and KDB scores that goal. Bruno scores that goal as an example. And I think for me, that's the difference between those players and Odegaard. That doesn't take away from what Odegaard is brilliant at. But if he's not a good goal scorer, he
has the limitations.
And I've been saying this for a while, Terry, actually. Yeah, because I've been saying
we need to use Odegaard as an 8. He's not an out-and-out 10. I've had arguments with people on the panel about Odegaard being, the sole, the sole attacking hub of the team, and he's never been that. Like you said, he's a metronome. He looks better when he goes deep and he helps us build up. But when he goes into attacking areas, he's not the most clinical player. He's not the most creative player. He's better in tight little spaces. And I've been saying it for a while. And fan bases have kind of propelled him up to be this fake messiah. This player that he's not. He's not a KDB profile. He's not a Maddison or thing. I'm not talking about quality wise. I'm just talking about the type of player that they are. When they get into the final third, they seem that's their bread and butter. They like to create. They will play the risky ball. They will take chances. Odegaard is not that player. He will turn around, recycle possession, and it's extremely frustrating. And for me, this game today mimicked the first game in the sense of we were our own worst enemy. In terms, we never took our chances, and when you don't take your chances, you will get punished. And then on top of that, just it shows our lack of quality in the final third, and the reason why a lot of Arsenal fans haven't been confident kind of about the second half of the season. I mean, Havertz today was pathetic. Let's call a spade, right? What's the name? Toon Tactics was talking about, he was talking about he had this type of fight and hunger. That's all bullshit to me, because when you can't touch the ball, when you can't control the ball, when the ball is bouncing off you, when you've got no presence, no confidence, when you shoot with no conviction, you can't talk like you pushing someone on the pitch.
When you lack quality, straight up, when you lack quality.
I mean, what you're doing there is you're trying to make up for what you lack. So for me, the fight is the last thing I needed from him. I saw more quality. I saw more courage from Miles Lewis-Skelly. When he took the ball, he'd take the ball, turn, hold off a player, and actually try and burst into space. I saw more moments of courage and composure and mentality. So for me, that whole thing on Havertz fighting, we want to see some of the dark arts, but the dark arts, if I want a dark arts person, I bring a boxer into the pitch. Why the fuck do I want Havertz on the pitch for? I don't need Havertz to be just to fight people on the pitch. I thought Saliba today was poor. I thought he was rattled. Like from the get-go, that chance where, for the first goal, he didn't show no dominance. He was kind of hesitant to kind of go in for it. He should have went in with his head. Kind of, for me, it is a part of Saliba's game where I feel like he can improve on. Sometimes in aerial duels, he can kind of not be as dominant. I don't see Gabriel's a bit more aggressive, and I feel like that's an aspect of his game I'd like to see develop. I've heard a lot of people talk about Gabriel today, but I don't think Gabriel was as bad. I thought Saliba was the person Isak kind of targeted for most of the 90. I don't think Gabriel was complicit in our bad defending in any type of way, and it's just frustrating because it's the same issues that are running our head, which is our attack is toothless. Our attack is not good enough, and there's nothing we can do now. And this is on the board, this is on the owners, and I know a lot of people are gonna want to shout out the manager and stick it on the manager. But when we create opportunities today, like we had a few opportunities when the players failed to take them. The same thing happened in the first leg with the likes of Martinelli, Havertz. There's nothing you can do. Like when you lack the quality, there's nothing that can be done. Who else is on there on the pitch or on the bench that could change that game for us? Without Saka, there is no star quality in this team, and that shows the.
Were you guys lacking clinical or quality on Sunday?
I knew Vader was
just because your team's poor doesn't change the fact that against harder teams, against teams that will sit in the mid blocks, low blocks, that it's a different game, isn't it? So let's not. What you're trying to do is you're trying to. No,
I'm just trying to ask a question. Whether the quality you had on Sunday.
Look. To be fair, right? The way you lot defend is high up the pitch. You left a lot of spaces in transition for us to counter, and you made a lot of errors in that game as well. So it's a completely different game. When you're trying to break down
Newcastle home game, that's a big detail,
right? When you're trying to break down Newcastle, who are a stubborn team that will throw their bodies on the line, it's a completely different, and you have to open them up. They're not sitting on the halfway line. They're not pressing you up the pitch. It's a completely different game. So this is not nothing I haven't said prior to the Man City game, because I've criticized our attack, our lack of this, our lack of being clinical, many times before. Man City was a good game, but you're also a wounded animal. You're a team that have been really, really dire defensively. You're a team that allows teams to counter on them. So
May I
it's a
ask one more
completely different challenge.
Can I ask one more question? Did you always believe you didn't have good enough quality to beat Newcastle at home and also away?
Did I believe we didn't have enough quality? No, well,
Yes.
I don't get the point of your question, Vader. Like, just stop beating around the bush and get to your point. What's your point?
That is my point. I'm not trying to place a point. I'm trying to get some clarity. I'm asking a question because I heard Saad talk about the transfer window. I heard him talk about if I had Saka, I'm winning Champions League and everything. And I'm asking you.
Hold on.
He didn't say Saka. He said Isak.
Sorry,
Isak. He didn't say Saka.
My bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. Isak.
Right, cool.
But he also spoke about getting this quality. He's winning everything, and I'm just curious. I'm just asking the panel. And again, you guys begged this rivalry, so I'm here. Did you have enough quality?
You're the one who started
Can I be honest?
You're an Arsenal.
Sorry, let me jump in. Let V finish his question, and then we'll go to you guys. Go on, V.
My question is just: did you, from the start, believe that you didn't have enough quality to beat Newcastle at home and away? Before this tie happened, did you believe you didn't have enough quality to beat them?
Simple answer is in a tight games, when games are tough, I don't believe we have enough quality to beat the tough teams. That's the answer I'd give you. It's not about Newcastle. It's not about Newcastle. It's not about, you're trying to isolate it to one game. I'm talking about in general.
I'm trying to keep it specific.
When the games get tough, in the games where you have one or two opportunities, I don't believe we have the quality to find a way and win the game.
Vader, can I give you a quick answer? Sorry, Vader, can I give you a quick answer? I think you guys might remember, I think Terry will, when we got Arsenal in this round, I said, I think we go through. Not 4-0, but I said, I think we can go through because the second leg of St. James's Park, we have killers up top, particularly Isak, and we have the midfield and a good record versus Arsenal. So that's my answer, Vader.
Can I ask you, V?
I don't rate Arsenal's quality.
Yeah, V. I would say this for a lot of the Arsenal fans on this panel. I think every single one of them on this panel right now, at one point in the last 9 months, has said, "I'm pissed off that we haven't bought more players to add to our attack." So that would tell you that they all think they're lacking. Now, my question back to you is, like, why are you asking this question? What's your feeling behind it?
My feeling behind it is because you can ask for more quality because you want to complete the season. 38 games in the season, in the Prem, Champions League, and other cups. But specifically versus an opponent, I'm asking, did you believe that you didn't have enough quality versus this Newcastle and this tie? Just simple. Not everything else, just head-to-head versus Newcastle. And I'm hearing that you guys, or it seems like I'm hearing, that you guys don't think you have a good enough team to beat Newcastle.
For me, when it came out, when the fixture list came out, I was confident to think, yeah, we can get through and get to the final. I'll be honest.
Thank you.
Despite our lack of purchasing up front.
Yeah, what is your point still?
What's your point, V? We're not getting your point still.
My point is, they were good enough to win.
Hang on, wait. Before I go to your point, Arsenal fans believe there's a chance they went through. If Arsenal were better at taking their chances, they could have gone through. They didn't. They're criticizing that they missed massive chances. What's your point?
That's it. That's perfect. They missed their chances. They were good enough to win. They didn't. Don't talk about transfer window. Don't talk about new additions. Don't have Saad talk about Isak.
What?
They were good enough. They were good enough.
No, but it's related because we're seeing if we had a top quality striker, he probably would have taken those chances.
No,
why is that a normal conversation to have? If we played Newcastle 10 times, we might win 5 or 6 times, but we could also lose 4 or 5 times. We're not saying we will never, ever beat Newcastle again until we sign someone. But we're saying we clearly have a deficiency in the team, right? Which shows up in certain games, like the United game in the FA Cup, like Newcastle home and away in the League Cup, where a striker that we should have signed last season, not even this season, would have probably helped us there. And this is where I agree with Nathan when Toon Tactics says things like, oh yeah, but at least he has a fight. I agree with Nathan. I'd rather Kai Havertz is as soft as a puppy, but he has skills on the pitch that actually lead to dangerous attacks. Terry as well is trying to gaslight us, saying he's not a phenomenal signing, but he's a good signing. No, he's a crap signing.
Good signing.
He's a crap signing. No, he's a crap signing because he's a crap signing. I'll tell you why he's a crap signing. Because if you take the context of the fact is, we are not Man City. We are not PSG. We cannot go spend certain money, right? Flop on a big player and then say, you know what, 65 million down the drain. It's okay. We'll make up for it next season. We're not that kind of club. So
But
if we spend big money on a
sorry,
certain
sorry.
player and
Yeah.
he doesn't meet the criteria, that
Okay.
65 million causes a big dent on our finances.
So I understand.
on that
I
context,
understand that,
it's
but
a
it's
bad
not
signing.
about Ash. But it's not about gaslighting you. I understand you're frustrated and angry, but it's not about gaslighting you. Let's say right now I can wave a magic wand, and it removes that Kai Havertz has ever been at your club, and you put Alexander Isak in there. Great. That's still only one striker. Anything happens to him, you need to rotate and move him out. If you had Isak as your striker and the backup was Kai Havertz, who come on last 20 minutes of game, started a few, and he'd scored the amount of goals he has done, and Isak was bagging like he was, Kai Havertz would be looked at as a good signing for you.
Can I counter that?
So tell me how a striker that scored what he's done, if he was your second striker, which is the level he's at, and you had an Isak or a Gyökeres bagging for fun ahead of him, why would he be a bad sign in your opinion?
I can counter that because again, you're not taking into context that we are not a team that spends 65 million on a certain player and then we'll go and spend another 100 million on another striker. If we got Isak, let's go by your logic. Let's say we didn't get Havertz and we only got Isak. I would rather have Isak for 25 league games and manage in the other 13 somehow versus have Kai Havertz for 38 games. Because I know in those 25 games, the chances that Isak gets me points are a lot higher. I've said this in the summer when people ask me, why do you want a striker when you have Kai Havertz? I said, because it's a purple patch. You will see the reality of Kai Havertz as we go into the season.
I understand your point, but you are looking to bring another top striker in this summer whilst Kai Havertz is still at your club. So the fact that this summer, I don't think you'll end up with Isak personally, but let's just say you go and get Victor Gyökeres, you'll have both of them at your club. And if in that time, if Gyökeres then scores like he does now at Sporting, and Kai Havertz still performs the same, scoring, then it's a good player to have. What you need is a phenomenal player ahead of him.
I think Terry, the context we're missing
you're
as well,
ignoring
right?
the context.
Phenomenal
Sorry,
and then
Nathan,
nothing.
Just 1 second. Terry, you're ignoring the context of the last 2 seasons. Yes, if we go get Isak or Gyökeres this summer, right, and next season we have them and Kai Havertz as a backup, that's great for next season. What we're saying is for this season and last season, instead of spending that kind of money on Havertz, if we put that same money on Gyökeres, for example, forget Isak because Isak's unrealistic. But you could have done, but you bought more defenders. I don't feel the spending. Which is why I'm criticizing the manager.
But but that's what I'm saying to you. I don't think the key issue is Kai Havertz isn't Isak. The key issue is Kai Havertz is all you've got. You should have added to that.
But Terry, although I agree with your point about that, hold on. Although I agree with your point about we should have added more with Kai Havertz, the issue is also that Kai Havertz is the highest paid player at Arsenal, right? So we also have to put that into context, right? So when you're looking at your highest paid player, there's supposed to, you know what I mean? You want return on investment. The highest paid player is supposed to deliver in big games. It's supposed to bail you out of tough situations. So for us to spend 65 million on Havertz and pay him what he's paid for him to not be at the level, for me, that's why I would say it's not a good signing in isolation. For me, when I look at transfers, if we're always looking at transfers as, I think transfers need to be looked at in isolation. And obviously you can build on that, but when if you're not, let me try and articulate myself. Yeah. If you look at the signing in isolation, it's not good enough. If you have to sign somebody else to better the signing, that means you're just rectifying your mistake. For me, Kai Havertz for 65 million at 275 is piss poor.
Yeah,
and there's a reason why
I will concede that the wages you pay him, you should get more. What I would also say is that he weren't ever purchased to be your number one striker. It's almost happened through process of elimination. And I think the return up front you're getting from him, I mean, the man's got 15 goals this season as a striker, and he isn't a number 9.
Why did we buy him, Terry? What did we buy him for?
Okay, so yes, you looked at him for those 2 roles, but the one point I'm making is he scored 50. He's now a striker, and he has scored 15 goals for you this season. That is a good return. 15 goals. What Arsenal need?
65 million.
Well, I think it is. I think it is. When you consider the phenomenal strikers, you want to double the money. So if they would double the money and double as good and have 30 goals by now, that's really good. Listen. I think we're arguing over a little bit of semantics here. I get how you guys feel about him, but I almost feel as if there's this element of the focus on him rather than the fact that you need to add to it. I think it's a bit of an issue here.
Can I add something in real quick? I think what these guys want is what Man City had with Alvarez and Haaland. Alvarez is better than Havertz. Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
I think that's what they want. And Man City didn't spend 65 on Julian Alvarez.
Yeah,
I know he eventually left. I know he eventually left.
No, I hear you. I hear you on that.
Yeah.
I look at it this way though. If, for instance, again, it's context and we're in hypotheticals here because that's the conversation's gone down those lines. If Isak was at Arsenal and he'd scored the goals this year and they were top of the league and they were in the final, and Kai Havertz was exactly the same player, Arsenal fans would go, "Oh, he's been all right. He's been good," because your mood about Arsenal would feel very, very different. I don't have your emotions towards Arsenal, so I look at it and go, he's done okay, good, average. He's in that middle area. He hasn't been brilliant again, but you're taking my words, and I think you're getting a bit triggered by them. I think he's been good.
No, I'm
average.
not. You're removing context because you're creating this utopian world that
I'm not
doesn't
creating
exist.
I'm not creating.
We wouldn't have Havertz as backup and have a main striker up top. That doesn't work with Arsenal.
Are you not doing that this summer?
Yes, after 2 seasons of failure.
Yes, okay.
That's why you're doing it now.
I understand. So he isn't the problem.
If we didn't get him the first time, that wouldn't happen.
The fact that you didn't buy enough is the problem, not so much him. Let's go to some of these super chats here because I want to go to some more of you guys in a moment. We obviously we can't just talk about this the whole show unless you guys want to. Saying Isak alone improves them is delusional. Murphy and Gordon are better than Trossard and Nelly. I would take Tonali, Bruno G, and Joel Linton over this Arsenal midfield trio. Do you agree with that, Brandon? Would you swap the entire Newcastle midfield for Arsenal's?
I don't know about midfield, but I definitely agree with the fact that Murphy and Gordon are certainly performing a lot better than Trossard and Martinelli. This is the thing, right? This is the thing with Arsenal fans. They're so suckered into this, oh, Arsenal need a striker. Yes, we need a striker, but a striker does not complete this team.
Yeah.
We still need a right winger. We still need a left winger. This manager has been looking to replace Martinelli ever since he came to the football club. Yeah? We put in an £80 million bid for Mudryk. We didn't end up getting it. But this manager has clearly seen something in Martinelli to say that you are not my long-term guy on that left wing. Yeah? So it's not like Arsenal just need one or two people. We need 3 or 4 pieces. Let's be real.
Yeah.
You know, we've watched Arteta play Thomas Partey at right back this season when we've not had the options there available. You know, so it's not like a striker completes this team. On today's game, right, the game plan was wrong. Yeah, I understand we're a 2-goal deficit. I understand the need to go there and apply pressure to Newcastle, right? But we was very lucky before the goal actually happened to have not conceded a goal anyway when Isak was flagged offside. Now, I want to have a look at the players on the pitch at that point and say, where's the leadership? Because the way that Newcastle cut us open in that moment, there was not enough protection in front of the defence. We could see that William Saliba from the get-go was rattled. Ooh. Yeah, I thought Gabriel was okay, but, you know, a centre-back partnership only works if both of you are kind of playing at the highest level. And normally, the thing that I would say about Saliba is normally he's the calming presence in that defence. So it's unusual to see him that rattled, right? But somebody on that pitch has got to say, look, Partey or Rice, just you know, don't come forward as far as what we are. Just be there to protect the defence. Be there to stop the counter-attack transition, to help the defenders so that they can maybe, you know, move 5-10 yards further back so we're not playing such a high line, and then make it more difficult for Newcastle to hit us on the counter. Instead, we continue trying to press. We continue to try and play forward. We got done on the counter-attack easily again. And then you're 1-0 down and you're looking at a 3-0 deficit. Very difficult to turn around a 3-goal deficit at St James's Park, which for us has been a bogey ground for the past, 3 years. Yeah. I think in the last 3 years, we've had about 4 shots on target there, let alone like scoring any goals. So that number one, you know,
are they a bogey? Are they a bogey team for you guys?
100% they are.
100% you know why? You know why? Real quick.
Do you know what I would say?
They're a bogey team. I enjoy playing them. That's how you know.
The thing is Nathan. What Nathan said about Newcastle is right.
This season,
Arsenal have always struggled against low block teams because we don't have the quality to unlock them. People rave about Martin Odegaard. Martin Odegaard's very good at linking defence and attack. but he's not the guy who's going to open up defenses. He's not your Kevin De Bruyne. He's not going to come up with goals. He's not going to come up with assists. You have to look at his stats. Yeah, people think he's this creative spark. He's not. Yeah, he's a good link man, but he's not the creative guy that Arsenal need. He's
Why
not
does
a
he
proper
create more
number
chances
10.
than anyone else in the Premier League than in the last
He's
couple of
not
years?
a proper number 10.
Why
Look
does
at
he
his
create more chances if he's not a proper number 10?
Stats, my friend. Everybody likes to talk about
I
stats.
just gave you a
How
stat.
many assists has he got this season? How many goals has he got this season? That's the difference, right? When
His
I
is
look at
created
Odegaard,
very
hang on.
Yeah.
When I look at Odegaard, I would compare him more to a Bernardo Silva from Man City. Doesn't or rarely comes up with assists, rarely comes up with goals, but is a link man. Yeah,
linked up, yeah.
We need the Kevin De
Bernardo Silva
Bruyne
doesn't
in our
create like
team.
Odegaard, but okay.
We need the Kevin De Bruyne in our team. Now, what I would say is, I've got a few excuses for tonight, right? The ball, terrible. Yeah, the ball is absolutely terrible. Havertz could not control it one little bit. Quite a few of our players really struggled with that ball as well. You know, so I understand where Arteta's coming from. I really do. And look, Martinelli went off injured. I know everybody's worried about that, but luckily we had a fantastic January transfer window, so there's no need to worry about that. We've got other players that we can bring in. You know, if it's a long-term injury, it doesn't really matter too much. This is the thing, you see? You see the sarcasm there? We're a terrible football club. We're a terrible football club in the sense that we are just simply not serious, Terry. You know? I could sit here and say, oh, well, at least we got the FA Cup at the weekend. We're out of that as well. We're out of the League Cup, which I thought personally was our best opportunity of winning a trophy this season. Even though, in my opinion, a League Cup is not enough after a 5-year process. But I'm looking around right now, and I have no faith that Arsenal can win this league, even though we are only 6 points off, because of how thin our squad is, right? We've already seen Martinelli's gone off injured. We're bringing on Ethan. Cool. But then after Ethan, it's Sterling. All we need is one more injury in that front line, which isn't good enough, by the way, anyway. And we're done out here, right? And then you look at it as Champions League. Arsenal ain't winning the Champions League pure and simply because we're not good enough. We don't have the European heritage anyway. And I'm looking at this season again as another failure. And it's on all levels of Arsenal Football Club, by the way. I'm not just sitting here blaming the manager now. That the board have clearly shown to us what their ambition is with this football club. Even those, I would say to Arsenal fans out there, the Kroenkes made their intentions with this football club very clear back in 2016 when Stan Kroenke come out in an interview and said, I did not buy Arsenal to win trophies. Trophies is a bonus to them. Yeah? All they care about is top 4. As long as we qualify for Champions League, they get their money. And providing the manager continues to do that with this squad, he will keep his job. He also got a pay rise in the summer. We all know what that's for. That isn't because he's the second best manager in world football, no matter how much of a top gooner you are. And you might think that Mikel Arteta is. He is not better than Ancelotti. He is not better than Simeone. He's not better than all these managers with CVs. So the question is, why is he the second highest paid manager in the world? To protect this ownership, just like he did at the end of this transfer window. All transfer window, he's been telling us, we're short, we're short, we're short, we're short. All of a sudden yesterday, the journalist is asking him, okay, Mikel, you've been saying you're short all transfer window. Now that the transfer window is shut and you can no longer bring in any players, are you worried by the fact that you're short? Oh, no. No, we're not worried. We just got to work with what we've got now. Protecting the ownership once again. You know, the same thing that Wenger did. I've come to the reality now that, Terry, yeah, there's no point in me getting angry anymore because I'm part of the minority. There's a majority of Arsenal fans that still sit there and talk bollocks out of two sides of their mouth, right?
I was going to ask you a question about that. Let me ask you this question. And this isn't a trick question. I'm not trying to catch you out. You, for years, have been on the terrace saying, we're not serious. The owners don't care. You've mentioned it was the same under Wenger. So you're talking about 15, 20 years of this. If you're not a serious club, your ambition, or your, again, not your personal ambition, you're overachieving then, aren't you? For an unserious club to be in a title race and be second in the league, are you not overachieving based on not being a serious club? And I mean that in the sense of, does there come a point for you, because you've said there's no point being angry, where you just accept that Arsenal are what they are, and therefore you're actually achieving the maximum you can? Like, when comes a point for you where you just go, I'm going to let go of expecting better? And that's not a trick question. That's not trying to catch you out in any way, because it feels like you're at that point where, well, no matter how much I moan, no matter how high my standards are, the Cronkies don't care. So when is that breaking point for you personally?
No, that's what I'm trying to say. I've realised now that Arsenal are what we are. When trophies is not a necessity to this football club, to this ownership. Trophies is just a bonus. That's all they care about is Champions League football, providing we qualify for that, right? And I'm going to say it in the nicest, politest way, and this will trigger people. We are the Red Spurs. And what I mean by that is, if you go back and look at Spurs, what was it, 6, 7, 8 years ago under Pochettino? Spurs finished second, finished third, finished fourth, qualified for Champions League, made a Champions League final, were the nearly team, were the nearly men. Yeah, they had players like Harry Kane, who wasn't quite well classed at that time, but he was a very, very good player. Dele Alli at the time as well was one of the most sought after attacking midfielders in world football. Everybody was raving about it. Arsenal was similar in that stance when you look at the likes of Saka.
Brendan, can I also add to that?
Hang on. The likes of Saliba, yeah? The thing is, and the similarities is Tottenham won nothing. They went through all of that. 5 years under Pochettino, by the way, of winning nothing. Arsenal are at that stage now where we're 5 years in and we've won nothing. So there's no difference. The only difference is, again, when you look at Spurs' ownership, all they really care about is Champions League football. Let's be real about it. You know, they're not built to go out and win. Daniel Levy is not desperate for Tottenham to win trophies. It's just a bonus to him. Same with the Cronkies. And it will never change unless more fans stand up and say, nah, I've had enough. It is time to get these owners out of this football club. It's time to hit these motherfuckers in the pocket and stop them from earning the money that they're craving. Like, look at it, for example, in this January transfer window. Arsenal didn't sign any players. We didn't sell any players in this window either. But we brought out 3 lines of merchandise.
Yeah. Can I ask a question to the
Get
Arsenal
owners
fan?
and get who? I'm just curious. Who do we get then once the owners get out? So
Sorry?
what happens when the Cronkies leave? What happens when the Cronkies leave?
Ideally, you want something better.
Yeah, how do you get new owners? Do you go and select them, or do they just sell to the highest bidder? Because it doesn't work that way, my friend. They will literally just go and say, okay, fair enough, you guys want us out. Who's willing to give us the most money? Oh, another American VC in America. Thank you, here's the money.
So what you're saying then, what you're saying then is better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Is that what you're saying? So you would, hang on, you would rather keep the Cronkies knowing what you know, because the next ownership might be worse.
In
What
fairness,
a load of nonsense.
Hang on,
That
in
is
fairness,
like-
Brandon, that's why I voted to remain and not for Brexit, because I thought it's better the devil I know than the devil I
But
don't.
that's like, hang on, that's like saying.
That's not even
Just
what I'm
real
saying. That's not
quick.
even what I'm saying.
Guys,
That's
no,
like
let
saying.
me ask you a question. Sorry, Brandon, I'll come back to you. I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question here because I don't know the answer, and V won't know the answer, and I'm sure Steve don't know the answer. We're not Arsenal fans, and I'm sorry to the viewers that think I'm defending Arsenal. It's called being a host and asking a question. Are Arsenal behaving different as a football club in 2025 to they were in 1995, or is 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other clubs just got owners like Roman and made Chelsea what they are and made City what they are, and Arsenal are still operating in the same way? Or are Arsenal operating worse? Were Arsenal the big spenders that you now want them to be in the 80s and the 90s? And the reason I ask that is, and I think it's a fair question, is if your club still behaves the way it always has done, why the frustration and anger?
It's got nothing to do with. Hang on, it's got nothing to do with the behaviour of the football club, because you're right, Terry. Yeah, the way that Arsenal behave now is very similar to the way we did in previous years. However, the difference was we had, for example, Wenger. He came into Arsenal, he changed all the diets up, he changed this, that, and the other. His talent ID was exceptional. He had, the French market on lock. We ended up bringing in the likes of Thierry Henry, Bergkamp, top quality players. Arsenal right now, the only thing that's world class about this football club is the PR that surrounds it. Even when you look at just like again recently with the January transfer window, if people were genuinely sit there and believe that Arsenal actually bid for Ollie Watkins, you're deluding yourself. And if Arsenal did, then they only bid less than what Villa wanted anyway. And they did that to say, oh, well, at least we tried, guys. And the reason I know that the PR that surrounds this football club is world class is because, as I just pointed out, Arsenal signed 0 players in January. We've all been screaming for a striker since the summer. And they've got away with it again to a degree because they brought out a load of merchandise. And I can guarantee you, the next game at the Emirates, they'll all be there lining up for the merch. Yeah, they was all celebrating about us beating City 5-1. That's fine. I was buzzing about that as well. But on transfer deadline day, when Arsenal fans should be screaming, go and get us a striker, give us something to make us believe again. There were a lot of them out there, putting out statuses, tweeting and all this, that, be humble, Haaland. Hang on, have we forgot that this whole thing came about, right? Because we've kind of become a bit arrogant and made ourselves seem bigger than what we actually are. And if anything, yeah, we had a good laugh at beating Manchester City 5-1. But at the end of the season, Man City and Haaland are going to have the last laugh because when Arsenal win fuck all again, they're going to go, well, we did tell you.
Yeah,
and this is the thing.
To answer your question, Terry, I think we did behave differently before.
Hang on, sorry. We're going to answer that, and we're going to get back to the game. We've got some super chats. I want to speak to Steve as well. But yeah, answer that question for us, please, Nathan. Thank you.
I did think we behaved differently before. We would address footballing matters. We brought in Reyes in January, right? We would bring in players like Perez. We brought in players like Lundberg. We would add to the squad year in, year out. What we did in the summer was gross negligence, in my opinion. We brought in 2 rotational options in a centre half. I know people love to say he's a left back, but he's also a left centre half as backup for Gabriel. And we brought in a left centre mid for 30 million, which is not really indicative of a signing that's supposed to come in and improve your starting 11. And then we brought 2 loan players in. So I think although we weren't the big spenders, we never went out and spent huge money, and broke transfer fees. What we did do is actually recruit well and recruit what was needed. So if there were gaps within the squad, we'd fill it out. It was only until we moved to the Emirates when that stopped happening. And obviously there was like a good 5-6 year stretch where we needed a CDM, and everyone was crying out Arsenal just one CDM away from, being a real, title challenger, title winning side. Never went out and signed him. Happened the year when Leicester won the league, when we just signed Czech. So more recently in the Emirates era, it is kind of a part of our recent history. But traditionally speaking, under Wenger and whatnot,
I would say, yeah. Can I just add to that last point?
Yeah, go on. Very quickly.
Last point. Look at the people who are in charge of the football club as well, right? If you go back to the early 90s and that, have Arsenal ever had a novice manager in charge? No.
I don't know.
So we did that with Mikel Arteta. Also, look at the hierarchy now that are left at Arsenal as well. Tim Lewis, I can't remember the others, Richard Garlick and all the rest of them, right? They're all lawyers. They're not footballing men. Like the same reason, Tel, that you wanted Ed Woodward out of Manchester United. He's not a footballing man. He's a banker. So when you look at the people that are in charge of the football
man
club,
as a sporting director, and everyone wanted him.
We behave differently.
Everyone wanted him out. Arsenal legend. Everyone wanted him out as a sporting director, and he was a footballing man. So you guys cannot win either way. I think this is the most ridiculous thing. I think the owners have nothing to do with what we are here. I think they have something to do with it if they don't end up sacking the manager at the summer, if he regresses us. I think the way we spend money is not on them. If they trust the manager and the sporting director and say, this is our transfer budget for you guys, this is how much we can give you guys to spend, it's on the manager and the sporting director to spend that correctly. You think they went to him and said, we're going to give you 65 million, but you have to spend that on Havertz, no one else, right? We're going to give you 75 million this summer, but you have to get Calafiori and Moreno. They wouldn't put these kind of restrictions on the
75
manager.
million is a pittance, though. Let's be honest. 75 million in today's market, especially when we made a profit, is a pittance, and that's where we're.
I
that is
understand
why we're
that,
criticizing.
Nathan, but I'm saying we have spent a lot of money over the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, but
two
you
or
have
three
to.
of those
Every
signings
team,
were really good.
but every team spends money. That's the thing. You have to continue spending money, even if you win titles. You spend money. You can't look at Man City. The issue why Man City are in the situation they are right now is because even within all the their years of winning, they never continue to address that squad and refresh it as much. And then all of a sudden there's a huge downfall, and then they've had to go out this winter and spend this January and spend 200 million euros. So spending is not we can't be like, oh, they spent it last season, so therefore this season 60 million is enough. It's not, especially when you make a profit, especially when you were short. You weren't even the title winners. You came up short. So
I'm not saying they shouldn't spend. I'm not happy that they didn't spend on a striker, but I'm saying with clubs like Arsenal, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, and it sucks to say this, we are a club where spending certain amount of money could really affect us for a long time. Like when we spent 72 million on Pepe and that flopped, you do not just go correct it in the next summer, because unfortunately, we're just not that kind of club that spends that kind of money. Whether it's because we have the money or not, I don't know. Whether it's because the owners just don't want to spend that kind of money. And yeah, I think we do. But I'm saying the owners generally, like 90% of the other ownership, don't spend money that way. Khalefi, Mansour, Abramovich, these are exceptions. That's not the norm. So this is why I'm saying anyone who's saying Kroenke out now, and to answer Brandon's question, anyone who says Kroenke out, most likely you're getting another American VC who's going to spend the exact same way. The reason I don't want them out is because I think, given how much they've spent over the last few years, we actually could have won the league. I think the manager and the sporting director have made wrong decisions in how we spend the money, wrong decisions in certain game management that led us to where we are right now. I don't think it has something to do with the Kroenkes, in my opinion.
Listen, I asked the question because I think it's important for fans to hear it. There might be young fans that they weren't born, they might not remember. It's always important to put that out there and let people have their say on it. There's some of these super chats I want to go to because I want to respect the viewers here. It says, but there is some truth in that. I feel you don't cook Arsenal as much as you like other clubs. That's not true. That's not true. I mean, go and look what I said about them yesterday on Top 6. Everyone's trying to say they're doing PR, the Top 6, straight facts. They're doing PR, they're doing PR, they're doing PR. The problem is maybe I don't use the same terms that are popular, because my breakdown of why they didn't get Ollie Watkins, I think, is more condemning. I said I thought it was incompetence as opposed to smart PR that went wrong. The problem, it's like when I praise City. You don't praise City like you praise Arsenal. I said you're one of the greatest English teams of all time. All I said about Arsenal is they're scary. The fact that you see being called scary is a bigger compliment than being told you're one of the greatest English teams of all time. It's not a me problem. That's a you problem.
Do you know how you'll know whether it's PR or not, Terry? If we go in for Ollie Watkins again in the summer, then it's not PR. If we get Zubamendi in the summer, like this club have told us, then it's not PR. But I don't believe that either of them are going to happen. I don't believe it.
Or if you get better than Ollie Watkins, then maybe not. But yeah, no, I hear you. And I said it yesterday. I said, like, maybe it will turn out to be that way. My view was just, I don't necessarily think Ornstein was lying. My reason for that is that doesn't compute with the other PR theory around Ornstein. Because the theory is Ornstein tells stories to make Arsenal look better, but the story he's told make you look really bad. So I get confused because people get where I'm coming from. If Ornstein's stories are meant to make you look good, I thought it made you look really bad. It didn't sound like PR to me.
Let's not forget that story that he came out with made Arsenal look bad, but made the manager not look as bad, because it looks like it's the Kroenkes that have stopped us from being able to get somebody, not Mikel Arteta.
It depends, though, because the same people that call PR say that he has too much power at the club, Arteta. So if I'm to believe the people calling it PR that he has all this power, then it's still on Arteta in that world to me, if that makes sense. I think it was incompetent. I think, and when I mean incompetent, I think Watkins is worth 60 million. I think you should have paid it. Because then you'd have a very good striker to maybe a brilliant striker. And I'm sorry to say this, Ash, then you'd have a good striker behind him. or in Ash's world, a shit one that I think's good. Or
No,
done
I
okay.
actually agree with you. He's a good backup striker. I just don't think we should have got him in the first place.
But listen, I think this is the thing with our argument. I think we're arguing about two slightly different things. But I actually agree with you. Yeah, if you could go back now and not buy him and buy someone better, of course you would. I agree with that 100%. Don't compare Saliba to VVD. Botman is better. He was.
Look,
shut up.
Sven Botman.
Saliba had a horrible game today.
Sven Botman is very good, but he isn't like. He's not quite at the level of a Saliba or a. However, is he far off? No,
Saliba
not far off.
The thing with Saliba is as well. He got hurt today. Again, people defending Arsenal. No, I'm defending Lenny Yoro here. This happens to young defenders when they come up against class strikers, and most centre backs, they don't really get this out of their system until they're in their mid to late 20s. It's very rarely a role that you're good at and consistent at a young age being a centre back. It takes a while. A City fan coming in to banter, but I am sorry, man. As much as I hate Arsenal, this is Jerome, who's a Spurs fan. The way they cooked your team and Haaland, it was cold and I loved it, is what he says here.
Stay humble, eh? Stay humble,
Okay,
eh?
this is what I'm going to say real quick, and I agree with Brandon. Arsenal are the Red Spurs, because as he was breaking down the things that they've been doing over the years, the things that they've been celebrating or not winning, what Spurs have also done is celebrated the wins versus City. And that seems to be the biggest moments for Arsenal the last 2 years now.
But
we were supposed to win 5-1 and go like, hey.
I'm not saying you're not supposed to celebrate, Ash. Don't do that.
But you must have done that a lot when you were a kid, though, right?
I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with celebrating.
When you were a child.
Yes, when I was a child.
When you were a child and a young man, maybe even up into like your early 20s, you must have done that when you beat Man United, because you weren't challenging. You must have celebrated when you beat us when you were a kid and when you were a teenager.
Exactly, Terry. I have no issue with the celebrating. Okay. I'm saying it's the same comparison in terms of that's their biggest moment of the season. Okay. I'm not saying celebrating's wrong, but it's their biggest moment of the season.
Kind of are.
It's not.
We all hear that underhand jab there, bruv. Same old Arsenal, always cheating.
I don't even know with the way Arsenal played tonight. I don't even know if you added cheating on top of that, I still don't think they scored.
No, they don't. But it's an old song in England to sing about Arsenal cheating. It's older than all of us. Gordon really hit them with that. It's important for us to stay humble now in the post-match interview.
Hey, young man, good on you for scoring tonight. You should have scored the one where it was near the halfway line trying to chip right. You should have, but fair play, you made up for it. You need to stay humble as well, brother. We got a cup final. We got a cup final coming up, so let's stay humble for that. Yeah.
Very trying. V trying to compare a cup match to a Premier League cope with that L. But in fairness, though, I will say this in defense of V. This is what football's about. Yes, they lost at the weekend, but it's now a new week, and you come in and you banter. It's the way it works. It is what it is. Isak is great, but Gordon and Murphy complement him hugely. They are exciting too. And Newcastle's defense didn't put a foot wrong tonight. Without Gordon and Murphy, Isak would not be as prolific.
He's the best striker in the world.
I mean, he'd be as prolific, but yeah, you need the people to feed him. Do you know what I find really interesting? I was thinking about this during the game. You know, Pep recently said teams now need to become more direct and more powerful and have more pace. And you're seeing the way Newcastle and Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest are doing it. I'm thinking, we sacked Ollie and broke up that squad 3 years too early, you know, because this is how United were playing 3 or 4 years ago, and it was ridiculed.
Rashford,
and everybody's now turning into it. And you know, sometimes I've said this, but I'm not saying we were wrong to do it at the time, because you don't know what you don't know. But you know, sometimes in life when you're building something, sometimes you just stick to what you're doing and not sort of lose sight of, and that's generally in your life. I think it's really important to do that.
And the irony of that it was kryptonite to Man City at the time, wasn't it? Like, I swear you used to have a positive or quite positive record against City every time you played them. That counter-attacking style kind of was what defeated. It seems like now all the teams have transitioned over to kind of Pep's City. There's also been like a shifting of football where counter-attacking football is kind of coming back into it.
And again, if we do, and I was just thinking about it in terms of, what if, I like doing that in football. And I was thinking, imagine we carried on adding better quality to that, but that same approach, maybe we'd be in a very different position now to what we're in. And it feels very much like that's what a lot of United's targets are going to be as well, by the way. Very quick, very powerful. I think that's the way football's going. If we had Mbappe against Madrid in the Champions League final 2 times. We could have won it. Terry, what's your take on that? Yeah, I get it. However, when you were in that Champions League final, the first one where you lost to Real Madrid, you had Mane, Firmino, and Salah that at the time was being discussed as one of the maybe the best trio of forwards in European football. So I think the context of that is very different from Arsenal fans who think and say, we've got Saka who kills it when fit, and the rest they think are below standard. So I do think, again, that the comparable slightly off.
Also, Courtois was on smoke.
Yes.
As well. One of the Champions League finals, he had one of the best goalkeeping performances.
The second one, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like saying Anthony at 85 million is a good signing if United signs Salah alongside him. This is a good challenge, but I'm going to raise you on this, Labu. If Anthony's record with us in an attacking position, he was scoring a goal every other game, and he was then then we had Salah ahead of him. Yeah, I would say it's a good signing, but where your comparison falls down in an attacking role, Anthony doesn't score as regularly as Kai Havertz does. So again, if Anthony had scored double the amount, 3 times the amount of goals he did, he wouldn't have been called the worst player in Premier League history. So you've got to find me an example that's scoring like Kai Havertz is. Like I've said.
But do you acknowledge, Terry, that if we had someone ahead of him, Havertz wouldn't be scoring those goals because he wouldn't be starting those games to be scoring those goals?
That's a great point, and that holds water. And I think there's logic to that. However, you might be a goal or 2 up and he comes on and adds 3rd and 4th goals and is part of that team. So I think it works both ways. I think that if you have an Isak, a Gyökeres, I think you might find all of your players up front score more because you become a more prolific team. Teams are scared of you. I hate using that word nowadays because people get angry with it. But yeah, no, listen, you make a good point. You make a very good point there.
Who do you think Arsenal are going to sign in the striker's position in the summer, Terry?
Who do I think
everyone thinks it is?
I have a feeling it'll be Šeško.
It will be Šeško, 100%.
Is he better than Havertz? Is he better than Havertz?
He still has things to work on. I like his skill set, but yeah.
Right now, 2 years ago when I was watching him, I was like, oh, really excited about this young player. I feel like his progression has stalled in the last year or so.
You should go for Luis Openda over Leipzig if you're looking for strikers. Go for Openda.
There we
all
go.
Day, every day.
But this is the thing, though. This brings us back to the point about Havertz. And this is why I also believe that if Arsenal do go get a striker, it probably will be Šeško. Because as you rightly pointed out, Havertz is our highest paid player. The manager isn't going to want to replace him. Like, he isn't just going to do it bench all of a sudden.
You know what Havertz's role is going to be next year?
Because at the end of the day, there was strikers available on the market. So if we was going to get a Gyökeres, for example, we would have just done that in January. He had a release clause.
Yeah, but Brandon, that logic doesn't really hold up because if Isak was available for 100 million, not say he is, but I'm just saying if he was, are you telling me the manager's going to turn down the chance to sign one of the best strikers of world football? Like, that makes his job 10 times a lot easier. The more quality you have within your squad, the more easier it is for you to go out and get the results needed.
You guys know what the difficulty now with all of this is? The difficulty with all of this now is Gabriel Jesus is out injured for a year. We will not be able to sell him. We have to still pay his wages. The Kroenkes are going to take that into account when they're putting in the budget for the summer.
Good point.
100%.
Yeah, no, I hear. That's why sometimes you can't help the injury. Sometimes that's why it's good to cash in on a player, even if they can do a job for you, because you just get that wages off and everything else. Tell you a fact, Arsenal fans Eddie here is a better manager by far. Also, Eddie Howe is a better manager by far in comparison to Arteta. He is just your Brendan Rodgers, is what he says here.
I think they're of a similar level.
Terry, could you please go over how, again, everyone who signs up for the top 6 show, everyone who signs up for stocks during the show that it's mentioned on, everyone who signs up name goes into a hat, and then we get the information back from stocks, and then we do a random draw, and one person wins the tickets. It's as simple as that, my friend. You don't need to top your account up. You just need to sign up to an account. What is Terry waffling about? 15 goals in 30-plus games as a striker. Listen, I will concede with the wages that he's on. I'll concede and change my word from good to above average. I'll change my wording for you. And by the way, it's not gaslighting. I hate people using that phrase because I'm not. By
the way, I used that as a joke because I knew it would trigger reaction.
I know, right? I know you did. But the word gaslighting, like, it's what abusers do to people. I don't think that talking about football should be. It's just a weird word that people use nowadays. Spurs to win the same trophies as Arsenal. Yeah, from an Arsenal fan perspective, who would you rather go on to win it now? Newcastle, Liverpool, or Spurs?
Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Yeah, my dad always taught me about sport was you should always want the team that's knocked you out to go on and win it. So at least his view was at least you can say we got beat by the team that won it. Like that was Kroenke has shown us year after year that you guys are a cash cow. Thank you, Toons, for humbling Arsenal. Why would Saliba rebuff Madrid when the club has no ambition?
And this is the thing, you see. Eventually, we're going to reach a point now where if we continue to not win anything and we continue to lack ambition, all of a sudden, our best players will start turning their heads. The likes of Saliba, the likes of Saka, the likes of Gabriel, they'll all start looking and thinking, okay, a footballing career is short.
Arsenal fans are going to hate me for this. Even Arsenal fans are going to hate me for saying this, and I said this on Saad's show, on my show as well. Even if we win the league this season, if Madrid come calling for Saliba, I'm being honest, guys. If I was his agent, you're an idiot if you don't leave, because that is the pinnacle of football. And if you want to be recognized as one of the best centre-backs in the world, you have to make that move, in my opinion.
I remember that when I think it was the summer of 2007 and the Madrid Ronaldo rumors started. And I always remember sitting there. I was in the kitchen at home. I was standing back at my dad's house at the time, and I was like, "Oh, nah, they won't get him off us." And my dad just went, "Don't be stupid, son." He said he'll be gone within 2 years. It's Madrid. You can sometimes, if the player is English, maybe an Arsenal fan like Saka, it can be different. But typically, if there isn't that kind of connection to the country, I don't want to move home. You know, Wayne Rooney always said, as a younger player, he didn't want to leave the UK. That makes more sense. But yeah, I agree. Proof that the Kroenkes had no intention to buy anyone this window was when they never replaced Edu, even though he left months ago. That's a fair point, to be fair. Mr. Big Piece is a really good point. He did say it's not PR with LB. I blame Teta for playing a high line when your centre-backs don't feel comfortable. We need two left winger, we need a left winger and a right winger, then a striker. Sell Martinelli is what Robert says there. Yeah, Robert, people never remember when I criticize Arsenal because it doesn't suit their agenda. And I will say this as well: when you're talking, I will say this now about everyone on this panel and defend every one of the people that comes on the show. They're all giving different opinions. No one is trying to gaslight anybody. Ash was obviously joking. I know that. Me and Ash are cool. Anyone out there that tells you that another person's opinion is trying to gaslight you, they're the person doing
it. Gaslighting you.
It's the person that makes the accusation of gaslighting, and is typically the gaslighter. Because it's not. If you actually study that sort of the verbal and mental abuse where this all stemmed from, it was all from domestic abuse. It's typically the man who acts like a victim and makes his missus feel like, oh, you're always gaslighting me. It's the other way around. So whoever the YouTuber is that says they're gaslighting you, whoever the TikToker is, they're the gaslighter. That is how it actually works in reality.
We call that projection.
Yes, not 6 blokes, or at the time 8 blokes, having a healthy fight and conversation, laughing and joking, and accepting the view of others, even if they disagree. That's the opposite of gaslighting young people watching. Twitter right now, City fans cannot deny this is a rivalry. This is what gaslighting is. City fans knowing it's a rivalry, acting like a rivalry, but saying it's not a rivalry is an example of gaslighting. It is a rivalry.
Lying. There's also a difference between gaslighting and just straight up lying.
No, I hear you. Ty said only talk when you win something. Irony. Yeah, but Ty's talking the history of Arsenal, so he's got it right. It's like watching someone mediate a bad divorce. Listen, I hear you on that. Gentlemen, look, I want to thank you all for coming on. Commiserations to the Gooners. Congratulations, Stephen, on a fantastic win for you tonight. You thoroughly deserved it over 2 legs. We're back tomorrow with the top 6 show and the reaction to Spurs versus Liverpool. We're all Spurs fans tomorrow night. Well, no, that's not true. 4 Romanero Liverpool fans. Listen, everyone, until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all again soon. Peace.